Hi, I hope you are well. This podcast is a place for people to share personal and professional perspectives, talk openly, and ask questions. From serious to silly to sublime, it's all about communication and connection. Always coming from a place of kindness and curiosity, we talk about shared humanity, discuss ideas, and highlight people creating a better world. We've got to keep learning, keep growing, keep being. I'm Melissa Beek, and this is Beek on Being. Today's episode is Beek on Being launched. Between getting a driver's license and leaving home for college, the dynamics for teenagers and parents shift. Independence, anxiety, new rules, and new roles. It can be exciting and exhausting. In studio today to help you navigate through this life's big transition are licensed clinical social worker Jamie Young and Director of College Advising International College Counselors Amy Shapiro. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy to be here.
I'm thrilled that you both are here.
Thank
Is
you.
Great idea from Jamie. So please introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about you.
You want to go first?
You can go first. You're the
You're the
the one
catalyst.
who's done this
You're
before.
the
so-
catalyst.
Okay, true. Okay.
Yeah, then I
So
can-
I'm Jamie. As you said, I'm an LCSW. So that stands for Licensed Clinical Social Worker. And I have been an LCSW for like 25 years now, a long time. And I have a private practice here in Miami for the last 10, 15 years.
And how did you get into it?
Well, originally from New York, so went to grad school there, was working and practicing there, then moved here to Miami, and it took a few years to kind of get it going, get it started, and like life happened and everything. But back in New York, when I was working full time, I was lucky enough to be able to start working with people individually. I was actually working at a psych hospital at the time, and so knew a lot of psychiatrists and outpatient stuff. So I was able to start doing it actually really early on in my career, which was very lucky.
That's fabulous.
Hi. Well, my road was not as straight. I first started off as a publicist in a big publishing house. I was at Simon and Schuster, and I was at Penguin Books.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
now on
I
both
just got-
ears.
yes,
Go
both
ahead.
ears.
Good.
just
Oh,
went
you can
on.
hear both. Okay,
Yes,
good. I got
it
it.
just went on.
Great. Great. So I started off as a publicist, but I always knew I wanted to work with kids, and I didn't really know exactly how to make that happen.
Mhm.
I went back to school. I was living in New York. I'm from New York, and got a master's in counseling and guidance. And then, lo and behold, moved to Miami. I was working in a school in New York, moved to Miami, and worked at Gulliver Prep as a guidance and college counselor, because at Gulliver at the time, and now it's a little bit different, you were both. And they trained me in college guidance and sent me to Harvard Institute. It was wonderful. I got a great education while working there. And then when I wanted to go part-time a little bit later on, I moved to Coral Reef High School, big mega magnet, totally opposite from Gulliver, and I loved that too. And then on my third child, maternity leave, people started calling me and saying, just take my child, just one more. So I started just kind of doing hourly college guidance. And then that turned into my own business, which later on was acquired by ICC, which is where I am now. And I'm happy to be there. I have a great team to work with and to bounce ideas off of.
That's awesome. I'm so honored to have you both here.
Thank
now,
you.
we said a little bit before that, Jamie, you're the catalyst for this episode.
Yes.
You called me and you said, I have a great idea. And I think it's spectacular. So it's a big transition time for both students, parents. What are some of the major aspects?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's definitely a few. So as we were talking just before we started, there's aspects kind of in the mid years of high school, like kind of a little bit sophomore year, but then right junior year, like leading up to it. And then there's all the aspects like right before, and then there's the aspects of after. Whereas, so professionally, I tend to see more of the once they're at school, right? Whether that's the kids the kids themselves or the families,
Right.
right? And the change in the dynamics. More kind of like time sensitive is, kind of like right before, like maybe,
Right before they leave.
right before they leave, like anytime from like spring break to right around the time they leave, because that's when it sort of starts to become real,
Sure.
right? Like maybe it's after graduation, whatever,
Right.
So there's definitely different aspects. And also for a fair amount of kids and families, there's a lot of anxiety in those years beforehand
Right.
leading up to. So it depends kind of where in that timeline.
You get everybody.
Yeah.
Got it. And what are you experiencing personally and professionally?
Yeah, good question. I was going to say full disclosure. I am a parent to a senior in high school right now. I also have a ninth grader and a little one, but it's
And you're
been
surviving.
and I'm surviving. No, I'm with you all who are in this situation. So professionally, I've always been able to kind of sympathize and understand. And like I, said, my background in guidance really makes me kind of a different type of college counselor, because I think a lot of people come at college counseling with statistics and numbers, and it's so much more than that. It's so much
Right.
more about fit. But I forgot the question because I'm talking about myself.
What you're experiencing personally and professionally at this launching time.
It's, there's days where I think, oh my gosh, how is she going to survive, my daughter, in the real world? And then there's days where I think, oh my gosh, she's so ready.
Yeah.
And she was ready last year. I think there's lots of, I'm sure everyone has heard, or maybe not everyone has heard this, but soiling the nest, if you've ever heard this saying.
No.
It's very interesting. A lot of times, senior year, kids kind of act out and are not very nice to their parents.
There's pushback.
Because, right, exactly. And it just makes it easier to leave, because when you quote unquote, like when a birdie soils their nest and they have to get out and everyone's
Right.
so happy they're gone. I've always seen that with my students, where parents will call me and be like, what do I do? They're so snappy. I'm trying to help. I don't know how to do that, because they want me involved, but they don't.
Right.
Little bits and pieces I've seen at home as well. Nothing really crazy, but
Anything different with your clients?
no, it's funny. It's like, I've always watched it and then having it in my own home. And it's little things like, what do you want for breakfast? Why do you always ask me what I want for breakfast? Well, because, and
That's
it's great. And my daughter,
standard question.
right. She catches herself. That's what's so funny. She catches herself because she's a great kid. And
Do you think that they do that though because they know it's a safe place for them
Yes.
to vent, that they know you're going to love them unconditionally, and so they sort of let out that steam or that anxiety because they know they can sort of drop that on you and you're not going to turn on them, as they say, make maybe an acquaintance or a friend would be like, what's with the attitude? Like,
100%.
yeah. Okay.
I actually, it's funny you said that. The other day I had a student just so nasty over Zoom. Like, she snapped at me about something and it flew out of I said, I'm not your mom. You can't speak to me that way.
Right. This is a professional interaction, not a personal one.
And, I know her well enough to be able to say that because
yeah.
they've had each other, for
So she
4
felt
years.
comfortable with
Right.
you.
And she just burst into laughter. We were
Yeah,
cracking
yeah.
up. And I said, I don't even want to know, it's
Right.
normal. It's natural. And I think we have to laugh at ourselves and
Yeah.
step back.
I think humor is like the key to surviving.
Yes.
So,
It's hard.
so Jamie, you're not at that point just yet, but you've had some changes that your children are independent now. They're driving. So there's that beginning of
Right.
transition where
Right.
they've got more independence. Do you set new rules, new boundaries, new roles?
Yeah, for sure. And as we say at home, like, we're figuring this out too.
Okay.
So kind of realizing like, oh, okay, that didn't work so well.
Right,
Right.
right.
Like that, or like that was too much, or that was, not enough.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. Like, this is the age of 16, when there's definitely a lot of change. Driving is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
It's like ninth grade, they're like still little, there's like not much happening. And then all of a sudden 10th grade, right? like for the most part, if that's the year they turn 16,
Right.
because then like junior year is like all about SATs, ACTs,
Right.
like all of that kind
The
of stuff.
pace of it, I think,
So
picks
it's
up.
so it's a big jump from beginning of the year to the end of the year in terms of like what transpires, and then along with driving comes like lots of other subjects. Then you're like really talking about like the phones, drinking, money, right? Like opening checking accounts. Do they have a credit card? Like all of those
Right.
kinds of things. Like with that freedom, obviously comes a
A
whole
lot more
of,
responsibility.
a lot more responsibility that like all of a sudden they're like, what?
Like, why can't you do that for me?
Like what is all of this? I thought I was just gonna like get to drive around, right?
Right.
And then you start thinking about like the tasks, the things that they're gonna need a couple years from now to be able to do on their own, like
Right.
meaning literally on their own, like
Yeah.
without us home there
Right.
to do it if needed. And and then are they gonna start working? Like what are they doing with their time? Because
Right.
it's not just play dates anymore.
Right. Right. Amy, what are you experiencing with that? Because you've already had one go through, or maybe both. Your
Both.
oldest? Okay.
Yeah. So my oldest, the driving piece, yes, same thing. We went through that. So everything Jamie said is 100% what I would say. I have a ninth grader as well who has his permit. So, we're dealing with that.
So you're going to start this process all over again.
and what's funny, there's certain things, well, we all have very different types of kids. I
Right.
mean, like, they're never exactly the same. And I'm sure twins are the same, right? Like totally different.
Yeah, two different people.
And
Yeah.
right. So there's certain things I've learned, but then other things are completely different. I will say in terms of the independence, there's things that I feel lucky to have picked up on from what parents have told me what they're going through. Like,
oh, that's great.
yeah, like one thing, I had a student who was the younger sibling of somebody who already graduated. And I was talking to the mom about something else. And she said, hold on, I have to get on the phone and call the pharmacy because my daughter's prescription needs to be sent to her. I said, what? And I realized she was talking about the older child. So she was dealing with her daughter's prescription
Right.
in another state. And I said, I'll just make up a name. I said, isn't she getting her own prescription? She said, well, I had to step in because of insurance. Like,
Yeah.
it's so important. And I do believe that this mom had to step in because there was all
Right.
this stuff going on. But it's so important for these kids. If you have a reoccurring prescription,
Yeah.
they need to know how to get to that prescription. What do I do? What number do I call if
Right.
the insurance is saying they won't take it? These are things I really need to think about because we think
Right.
about like teaching your kid to do the laundry
Right.
and making sure they have enough money in their checking account
Right.
and, paying their bills. But like insurance is a big one.
It's
Yeah,
also
but-
practical advice because, like
Yeah.
you said, they're living independently. So they have to
Yes.
take care of all of these things for themselves.
But so let me say something about that. So yes, you're absolutely right. Those are the kinds of things that we don't think about. However, and this is going to come up in a lot with the questions you asked me, there is so much that they have to deal with. Like once they go away, like
Right.
forget about even the age thing. Once they turn 18 and then like, because that's even a whole complicated, but like you said, like if the insurance, like why did the mom have to step in? Because as we know as adults, how complicated
Yes.
some of this is now. You can't get people on the phone.
Right.
Right.
You spend the
Like,
whole day calling.
right. You spend the whole, and you get nowhere. And
Right.
then only to find out that it's out of stock.
Right.
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 And so then, or the next pharmacy tells you that they have it in stock, but they don't really, because by
Right.
the time you get through, it's the next day. Right.
Right.
So it is so complicated that
And to think in advance of all those
yes.
things.
Yes.
And so it's not like when we were all in school, whereas
Right.
like you called one phone number to one pharmacy and
Right.
like, and it was there and it was no
Right.
big deal. And so
Yeah.
it was a skill you could teach them
Right.
and expect them to do on their own, when now it's so complex and maybe 1 month is okay, but then the next 3 months are a mess.
Right. So what does support look like from a distance then? Instead of like, you're home, they're home and you able to provide daily support, but now that they've left or they're going to college, like what does support from a distance look like?
I think it really, really varies.
Yes, that's
Um,
exactly what I was going to say.
I think that for the most part, like there's healthy expectations,
Mhm.
but that it's really important to keep in mind, like, what are you actually expecting? Like, let's use the
What's
insurance
realistic?
example, right?
Mhm.
Like perfectly reasonable to say,
Right.
like, okay, you now need to be like in charge of your prescription every
Right.
month, right? totally valid, except what happens when there's complications,
Right.
Mhm.
right? So, and we as like the parents, like we're going to make the mistakes of like when to step in, right? And so then we're going to get yelled at, right? Don't step in yet.
Right.
And then if it goes on for too long, right?
When do you back
Like,
out?
Right. And so another one that's a really big one that this is a common thing that I hear on the other side once kids have gone to school is the housing.
Mhm.
Right. It's so complicated
Yeah.
because there's such a shortage of housing.
Right.
So half of these kids are not in the dorm. They're in apartments. They're in apartments off campus. They're dealing with leases and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's
Right.
adult
Big stuff. That's big stuff.
that is like we're all of a sudden expecting like 18-year-olds to like navigate
No.
this while they're in school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So these are like skills that like you can't really teach.
Yeah. Until they happen. You can't
Until
really.
they
Yeah.
happen, and having them navigate that boundary of like, when do I step in?
Yeah.
When do I not step in? And again,
Right.
validating for all of us, like this is the first time we're doing this,
Right.
and
So it's a teaching moment for everyone.
absolutely,
And there's a learning curve.
And there's
Right.
some of this stuff that can be, I don't want to say avoided, but you can help prepare. Perfect example. And actually, this is not a client; it's a friend. But her daughter got into like her dream school, but for spring semester, and they were deciding. They called like, "What do you think I should do? What do you think?" And I said, "Well, because they were worried most about the freshman experience." And I
Mhm.
said, "But." That's one thing. And it's very different from, in the 90s and early 2000s when people started spring semester. It wasn't as common. I think it's much more common now.
Yeah.
So get out of your head about what it was like for us.
Right.
Number one. But number two, this college happens to have spring rush. Does that mean that this student is going to have a harder time, or maybe it'll be easier for her to walk in and not knowing it? I don't know.
Right.
But think about, the housing thing. Are they going to guarantee her housing for second semester? Do they have spring scholar? Like all these things.
right, all these factors,
Right. So
what kind of expectations do you have for them, or what are your clients saying their parents have expectations for their children?
what do you mean?
Well, like we talked about, Jamie was saying it's a learning curve,
Right.
and that we're learning as we're going for all these things.
Right.
But prior to them experiencing those things, housing, because they're
Yeah.
not on campus yet, what expectations do your parents say that they have for their children going? Are they thinking about just practical skills, or are they talking about all of the other things about housing? Are they aware of that? And maybe they don't know until their child gets there. Like,
Yeah. I think,
what are their expectations?
I think their expectations are sometimes we don't talk enough about what it could look like. So they're
Mhm.
not even aware of what they should be.
Okay.
I mean, that was like the sorority stuff. Like the parents hadn't even thought about sorority
Right. That's what I'm
stuff, right?
saying. They
So-
don't even know enough to ask.
Right. And I
Right.
think, that's something I don't know how to avoid that without saying like,
Mhm.
come to me and I'll tell you all the things that
Right.
could come up.
Well, but it's also saying that it like the focus, and this is going to open up a can of worms, but like, especially in those, couple of years beforehand, is so focused on the grades, the scores, what are the schools that we're
Right.
applying
Right.
to, that
Right.
things like the housing, the Greek life,
It's not even
right?
thought of.
It's not even thought of if it's even thought of at all until the last minute,
Mhm.
Right.
which is not great,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's if it's even thought of at all.
Right. So you talked a little bit about, both of you before, about the anxieties and the fears. Can you expand a little bit more about like what the children are expressing, either personally or professionally, and also what the parents are expressing about their anxieties and fears? And are they just talking to you all, or are they talking to each other?
I think, I mean, I don't know, maybe Jamie can talk more clinically about this, but I think my students compared to 20 years ago are so much more anxious. I mean, I know we have
Yeah.
the anxious generation and that whole thing.
Do you think the rules have changed for them though?
Yes. And I also have
What
to
are they
tell
anxious
you
about?
the college
curious.
process,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, is so much more complicated
Oh, yes.
than it was when I started
100%.
doing this.
Meaning they're anxious while they're working with you on what,
Yeah.
right, as opposed to like they're anxious about socializing in college.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. It's more, the rules change every single year. Who's test optional, who's really test optional, all these things. I don't know any other profession. I mean, I really don't, that the rules change every single year, if not multiple times during the year, where I'll think Michigan, perfect example, not to pick on them, but they added early decision. What did that mean when they did it? We didn't really know. We assumed it was going to be like every other school, that it'd be easier to get in if you were applying early decision. However, months into the process, we heard, oh, we really did that to weed out our in-state kids who didn't really want to come here. Well, why hide?
Right.
Because, if, a normal counselor is going to see early decision and assume, because
it's binding and committed, and,
that it's giving the message that, it should be easier, quote unquote, to get in. And
because you're making a sort of commitment up front.
Exactly.
Right. So it guarantees that you're going to be a student.
Exactly. And maybe in the end, the season is not over, but maybe in the end, those kids that applied early decision will get in greater numbers than the kids who did non-binding options. But it wasn't as clear cut as that. And it's very difficult for families to navigate that when even the professionals don't have all the
right.
We don't have crystal balls.
So the kids are expressing more anxiety prior, just about the whole formality of getting in, taking tests, everything that goes with that. Are the parents experiencing that stress along with them, or they're more concerned about their social game later when they go to school and how they're going to make friends and adjust in a dorm and get to classes on time? And
I think the parents are dealing with it at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's tough. And I always say, I think a lot of my parents need Jamie more than me because, there's only so much I can do with a master's in counseling. I think sometimes they need like a real MSW.
So how do you help parents navigate that? Like when you see that this is really too much for both parents and children to handle, and maybe their communication skills aren't so great, like how do you help the parents and the children navigate those deep fears or anxieties?
I try, exactly as I said, I try to step in and say, we don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
Let's talk this through. I try to break things up into smaller pieces.
Right.
So sometimes
more palatable.
Exactly. And sometimes parents, and I know because I'm one of them, we want to do something, but there's not really so much you can do when it's not you applying to college. But things like checking your child's email. I know that sounds crazy, but these kids, they don't check their email because they're not used to it.
Right.
So a lot of times, a college will send a reminder, your transcript is missing or something. If a parent ever says to me, what can I do? I need something to do. I say, just go into their email. And the kids are very happy to give that to them. That's a tangible item.
Right. And Jamie, what are your clients, both patients and students? You see it more after the fact once they go to college, or are they expressing this sort of stress and anxiety to you?
Well, in general, I would say yes. I see it more like after, so more often than not, I will get the calls either from the kid themselves or the parent once they're at school and having a hard time. But I have a few high schoolers that I work with, and every now and then there's a short-term thing, like I said, like maybe in, the 4 or 5 months before a high school senior leaves.
Sort of an acute situation.
The high schoolers now, what I hear is like the stress of the SAT, and that
heard
like
that from my
it's its
sisters.
own AP course in itself.
Right.
So that's what I hear is just like the pressure of the work and the having to do it.
Right.
That's where that stress is. At least that's what I hear. It's not necessarily projected forward.
Right.
Again, yet,
Yeah. Well, they're at the first step. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So that's like where that focuses. And then just the relief, like just all the work that like comes with like all of the applications.
Right. And balancing that with everything else between school and work and after school activities and life.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Got it.
Whereas again, later on, once they're at school, then
More social situation.
yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as the kids go,
So what do you advise, Amy, about students finding a college or university that's a good fit for them?
Such a good question. Well, think about everything from weather You know, do
Yeah.
I, especially for my Florida kids, it's so funny.
Somebody should have told me that way earlier.
You
but
know,
yeah.
it's so funny. So as, you know, born and bred New Yorker, that never occurred to me. I never thought about weather as a determining factor. It was more like, oh yeah, it's nice to be in, you know, warm weather, but it wasn't a reason whether or not to go to college. I can't tell you how many kids from Florida I've had go up north and come back.
Because it's a very hard adjustment.
Yeah. So I think being realistic with what your tolerance is.
Agreed.
The other thing is culturally, you know, Miami is a melting pot of cultures. You know, we have, you know, incredible Latin American population that is not the same in other places, even in big cities. So it's sometimes hard culturally and socially for kids to find their people, you know, that's
Right.
But even just adjust to the change.
Yeah.
Like things that they don't think of like that.
Right.
You know, you get there and then like it is a change.
Right. Your
it's-
expectations in real life are different from what it looked like on the
Yeah.
paper.
My kids from the Northeast, my students, have a much easier time adjusting to
Florida.
yes, and also
Shocker.
just Southern life.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the kids who like whether it's Emory or Duke or you know Tulane or Elon something, they have a much easier time adjusting than my students from here who go up to Boston and other places up north. I mean,
Yeah.
especially upstate New York. It's really interesting. So.
Yep. How do you address, like, how do you help parents watch the level of involvement? Like, how much should they be involved in the process of the SATs or in filling out applications or any of those things?
So,
I would say that's an Amy
yeah.
question.
Yeah, it's an Amy question.
Yeah.
you know, I'm
Like, how much should they
rethinking-
get involved?
Yeah. I mean, I'm rethinking what I said about the checking of email. You know, I don't want to encourage people to always check their kids' email, but
Right.
it's something you can remind your kids. So that's one
Right.
thing. But no, I think parents, how much? I think it ebbs and flows. I always say if a student cannot physically fill out their own applications, then maybe they are not ready to go to college right now.
Right.
Like,
That's a
let's
good
talk about
valid.
that.
Right.
I
I think
mean,
that's
And I'm not saying, you know, and I have had actually 2 years ago, I had a student exactly like that who just wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. And
Right.
and it kind of came out in working together, and he ended up getting into schools and then deferring a year, and it worked out. I mean, perfectly. Like he just needed another year to
Right.
like cook because
To cook.
Yeah. He couldn't come, you know, get things on his own. And why send a kid like that out into the real world?
Who's not ready.
Right. But yeah, I think like Jamie was saying before about it depends on the escalation, you know, how something that, you know, you need parent involvement with. And I think it changes with every kid.
Right.
and every year.
Yes.
True. Because each kid's totally different.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part though is and I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I'm sorry. But
No, I love hearing all of it. Keep going.
I think the hardest part of this process, and I speak personally as well, is that we all worry what other people think, you know, is going to be like, especially
Or what it's supposed to look like.
right.
Right. But it's so different for every single kid and every single person.
Yeah. And we all know intellectually that, like, you know, we're adults, things work out.
Yeah.
The student doesn't get into the school they thought they were always going to go to. And
Or the picking the major. That's another subject that comes up.
Yeah.
Right, where like the stress is. Again, like the high schoolers like aren't really thinking about that.
And how many 18-year-olds really know what they want to do for the rest of their lives?
Did you change your major?
I was,
I
an
changed
art
I
my
had
major.
three.
Right.
Yeah.
You started as a publicist, right?
Right.
Working as a publicist.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I went to school for communications also.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so like one of the things that I end up saying, which is probably a little Amy more like your light, is I'm like, you don't have to do your major. Like whatever you
Right.
graduate,
You're not
undergraduate.
stuck.
Right. Like I have juniors and seniors in college that I work with that are now freaking out, wanting to do like change their major for like the third time
Right.
and are facing another 3 years of school.
Right.
Because they're like, but I don't want to do that. And it's like, do you want to finish or do you,
Yeah.
like
And
what
life
is the goal
experience
here?
is a teacher in and of
Right.
itself. So it's like you can
Right.
meander because things change your path.
Right.
You didn't know that
but
they
the
existed
structure
before.
of it is now so like rigid
Yeah.
and stressful that it's very hard for them to see, so that then it becomes super overwhelming. So
Sure.
that then something like a gap year that might have helped, or they didn't even necessarily need 3 years earlier, now all of a sudden is happening junior year
Right.
in college. And again, this
Right.
is where
Right.
this is why
This
I'm
is where
then
you come
involved.
in.
Right. But these are the things that
Yeah.
are happening.
Where do you think that comes from, though? Because I think sometimes there's this thing. I have parents say to me all the time, I don't want my child being an XYZ major because they're never going to get a job, and I don't want to support them when they're
Right there, the stress of the parent.
But do you think it's the parent, or do you think it's
I
more?
think it's a mix of peers, society, and parents. I
Yeah.
mean, I always said to my kids, because family members would say, well, what if they need to do this because, they need to get a job, they have to have security and stuff like that. And I would say, well, one, it's not their passion. And two, they may be going to school and working in a field that we don't even know exists at this
Yes.
time because, with technology and things change so quickly since my kids were in school. I said, we have no idea what they're going to become or what they're going to do because the jobs for maybe what they're learning or what they will learn don't even exist at this point
Yeah.
right now. So it was really hard to navigate an unknown at that point too, and sort of pigeonhole yourself because I personally always said, try everything, do everything and see what you like and where it takes you before you make any sort of decision. And you could still change your mind. Nothing's written in stone. So I kind of went with that attitude. I followed their lead, but I feel that they get a lot of pressure from their friends. They get a lot of pressure from parents or other family members, and they get a lot of pressure from what they're hearing back from universities and colleges. Can you commit to this? Can you do this? So I
Right.
feel like they're channeled in a direction
Right.
that maybe not right for them.
right.
So
I couldn't agree more. And you're
And too soon to pick, too soon to
too
choose.
young to know.
Yeah.
Don't have enough life experience yet.
Absolutely. And that whole idea of, we're preparing for jobs that we don't even know about. That's the whole reason that liberal arts colleges are so important.
Right. That's why they exist.
And it is so frustrating how many times I hear, well, I'll let my child look at this, and this, as long as it's not a liberal arts education. It's a dirty word. And that is a very tough part of my
Yeah.
job because as a parent, I want to say exactly what you said. But on the other hand, I'm happy to meet anyone where they are. And
Right.
if that's their philosophy, then
Right.
let's do it.
Right. Is there a
So-
huge dichotomy between parents and children when they come to you with their expectations? Like, does the child secretly say the dirty word liberal arts?
No.
And the parent
No, they
says
don't.
no,
no.
they're terrified.
Oh,
No.
are they really?
Yes. I don't
so
know,
funny.
Jamie, if you.
I would say that doesn't come up.
But your students are saying that they're terrified to go to liberal arts?
Yeah, because I think there's also other connotations now with
Right, there's lots of other
political stuff
factors.
going on.
Oh,
and,
got
and
it,
so
got
they
it, got
kind of
it.
equate it with that.
Got it.
And whatever they hear in their high schools too.
Exactly.
Whereas, like
Got
for me,
it.
that's a little bit more academic than
Right.
unless that was in particular an issue for
Right.
one kid. I would say that's more the
Got it.
academic realm than what I would necessarily hear.
Okay. And we're talking about kids of different ages. So, Jamie, you have twins and you have three at different ages.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about, parents who have children of different ages, you're sort of easing them out of the nest one by one. When it's time for you, you're going to have both leave at the same time.
Yay!
So, is that a yay or is it?
I have no idea.
You have no. But how does it look from a different position? Like, because now your
Drastic.
middle, drastic for
Drastic.
you, but at least you're easing into it. Your middle child now is sort of going to be like the older child, and the younger one sort of has a different dynamic now. So, what are the expectations of that for yourself? Like, is your identity as a parent going to change when both your girls are out of the house, but you still have? You're still in the process. You're starting back to square one again.
And I'm fine
And
with
you're going
that.
through, you're okay with it.
Well, I don't think let's put it this way. Whatever my situation is, as opposed to someone else, like everyone's quote identity is a parent is going to change.
Yeah.
I'm going to say as it should, because
Right.
it is a big change. And in order to like make that transition, and this
Right.
is something I talk about in my practice a lot, like the big quote milestones, right? Or like should be acknowledged. Like they're supposed to be bumpy.
This is what you've been
right?
raising them to do.
Right. But even like in our lives too.
Yeah.
So yes, for me it is, assuming both are not home, like both go, like, because
Right.
who knows? Like, yes, that definitely like
A
will
big
be
shift.
more drastic than if there was another one at home. That being said, in talking about sort of what it looks like now and in like the couple of years before, I mean, in my case, like my two are very close and have done pretty much everything together their whole lives. Like that is starting to change.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to go with, that's good for them. That's important. But especially if they go to separate schools, like I don't want that to then be drastic.
Right.
So this is when those things are starting to shift.
Pursuing different
Right.
things.
So
Mhm.
it's so even there, the dynamics start to change as far as like,
right.
you know, going in separate directions, different likes, different things, you know,
Right.
to set the stage for that. So it just happens maybe a little bit earlier and a little bit different.
Okay. And how are the dynamics changing in your house?
They've actually started changing even a year ago. And I was really shocked because I am one of three as well. And I am the oldest. I wonder if this is how it was in my own home, but as a kid, maybe you don't internalize these things. I'm telling you, I mean, both my son and my younger daughter, at least once a week, there will be some comment about this, you know, it's the last like this that we're having. And it's really, and like my youngest has started every night before she goes to bed, she goes over to my oldest room and said, you know, like, cause they share a bathroom,
Right.
you know, and like says, good night. I want to make sure you're going to bed soon. Like it's so
like very aware of the upcoming
and
change.
she knows, and like sometimes it's funny, like they'll joke like, yeah, you know, when Sarah leaves, they'll you know, Heather's gonna take over Sarah's closet and the whole thing, and it's funny, and then there's a point of like,
it's
but
real.
I would never.
Oh, she will.
Oh, I know. It already happened. So.
I'm one of three also and the oldest, and my sisters like came in with garbage bags and just took everything off of my shelves and took everything in my closet. And my mother said, "What are you doing?" And they both said, "Well, she's gone. We're taking her stuff."
Oh my goodness.
And I love them and adore them.
Yeah.
But then they would show up at the airport wearing my things, had my things, and eventually the room wasn't mine anymore. They took over my room. The youngest
really
one.
funny.
So wait, your youngest might say that now, but it might be very intriguing where there's no policing of that room anymore.
Right.
So
Right. Oh
it's
yeah.
Right. And then the middle one, I mean, your middle one, I guess, is your son, but the middle one then becomes the quote oldest.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Which
he's
is like,
absolutely.
right, a total change. Or if there's, I mean, in your case, there's two more, but if you have two kids, then once one
Right.
leaves, then
they're the only.
then they're the only. And that's a total change. That's
Right.
a change for the kid. It's a change for the parents. It's,
Yeah.
you know, a change all around.
Yeah, definitely. I only have two, and they're very close in age. But when the eldest one left, I feel like the younger one probably thought that she was being smothered a lot more. And she's like, "Can I go visit her? Can I go?" And I was like, yeah, you can. Yeah. But I realized looking back as a parent, I was probably literally sitting on top of her, like, you know, still adjusting to the first one that left. So have you discussed practical skills? Like we talked a little bit earlier about finances or doing laundry, like basic sort of things. Have you discussed that with your daughter?
Definitely. You know, my husband probably more so than me because he grew up in a household where like there was always a discussion of, you know, your bank account is this and you have to budget and whatever. Not to, you know, just a different way of life for me. I just didn't have that.
Right.
So he's always been much more like that. And the prescription thing, it's funny. I've been, anytime there's something that needs to be picked up at the pharmacy, I'm always like, you need to go get it because you need to get used to this.
Right. That's great. Yeah.
You know, even just saying like your birth date and all these things, things that I think we as adults take for granted sometimes.
Right.
And even calling someone on the phone because these kids don't
Know what
call on
phones
the
are.
phone as much, like
They don't know
customer
what
service.
these phones are. They don't know what, like,
Yeah.
A residence hall phone is.
Right.
Right. Well, I don't even know if they have
Right.
those anymore.
Oh, I know. I'm dating myself. Used to be a payphone at the end of the hall. So
Right.
yeah. So we talk about like their mental and physical well-being,
Mhm.
and you're both in the professions. Have you talked to them about using college, campus resources for when they're feeling stressed out, or when, or about safety on campus? Like, are those kind of discussions talked about as well?
Yes, I would say the safety part for me, no, because that's
Well, you're
not
not there yet.
right,
Yeah.
right. Whereas maybe for Amy in the applying,
Right.
as far as for like most schools, like pretty much every school will have a counseling center,
Right.
but they are short term only.
Right.
They are not long term. So for example, for some of the high schoolers that I do work with, I try my best to set it up as much as possible, but I make it clear to them,
Mhm.
that there's always an option of having a therapist wherever they are.
Right.
Right. Like, let's say they're going to a major city. Let's say they're going
Right.
to whatever, like, Atlanta, even Gainesville now, Boston, whatever.
Right.
If they want help in setting that up before they go, great. I can
Mhm.
help with that. And if they don't, then what I do is I do my best to like show them like how to get
Help.
referrals,
Mhm.
right? Like most of the big schools will have links on their website. Like you have to work to get to it. Like
Right.
it's not the counseling
No, you have to
center.
find it.
It's like, right. It's a link to like outside resources
Right.
that will have a lot of
Right.
local therapists, local resources. So I do that with my seniors.
Uh-huh.
Again, if they want it, and maybe sometimes a little bit even if they don't, just so
Right.
that they know.
Well,
are
they need to be
informed.
aware of it, because what if something happens on
right.
campus
Well,
and they
right, of
need help
course.
immediately, and and even if they're seeing a therapist in town as opposed to on Zoom or far away, and they just need a resource or help, then they
Mhm.
need to know
Right.
how to navigate that,
Yeah.
and safety.
And some schools are better than others in terms of what they have as mental health resources. Um,
I agree with that.
it's really interesting. For me, I'm not usually the one to go into that direction, but I do help. I have a lot of students who have learning differences.
Mhm.
That's kind of like my thing. I love working with students who, have dyslexia and all sorts of different things like that. So I help them make sure that they not only will have their services set up when they get into college, but like who to go to if they need to get retested, or
Right.
who to advocate, and also knowing every college, and knowing what the accommodation is really going to look like at the college.
Right.
You know,
Different at the high school level.
right. And some of these kids, they go to big public high schools where you really have to advocate. You need a parent. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of, smaller programs, especially in Miami, where they do the paperwork, but you don't really have to advocate for yourself. It's just kind of done.
So how do you teach them to be self-sufficient like that? It just the planning in advance for everything, that you're aware of it? Okay.
Yeah. Trial and error.
Right.
Trial
Trial and
Yeah.
error.
Oh God. So what are some of the other challenges you think that that they're facing, or that you've heard of that they're facing once they get to college?
Oh, I have a sad one.
Oh no. Okay.
I have heard, and I don't know what it is this year, but 4 students who did not get into either a sorority or a fraternity. And actually, that's why it was on my mind to say this to the parent who was deciding about.
Right.
I don't know what is going on. I think that fraternity life is just more popular than it was, or it's becoming because of the shows that Alabama,
Oh,
whatever.
well,
And this is not.
no, but I'm going to say something about that. You're onto something. So.
It's like this, I don't know. So it's harder and harder to get into that type of house. I mean, I can speak personally at Tulane. When I went there, everyone got in a house. There was no, maybe you didn't get into your first choice, but you were so happy because you got in your second, and the second was great.
Right.
Now, I mean,
But everybody was accepted.
everyone was accepted, and it was like I was rush chair. Like it was,
Yeah.
of course everyone got in somewhere. That is not happening now. And it's not just Tulane. I mean, I had a student at BU who didn't get, these are schools that you also wouldn't associate with everyone's in a sorority or fraternity.
Right. Right.
So
What were you saying?
So I was going to say the biggest issue that I see, like, because obviously they're coming to me with certain struggles, is the isolation.
mm,
Okay. So, and that could be for any
A multitude.
right, a multitude of reasons. But if that's a huge problem and a huge struggle, then you also add the sheer number of kids in schools, right? Just in general, right? That is probably why Greek life is becoming such, like, it always was like a big thing, but maybe it wasn't like, there was always something to kind of balance it out, or it was like there was enough to go around, or whatever. Because if without it, they seem to not have anything, right?
Why? There's no other way for socialization, like either art groups or architecture groups,
different, again, from when we went. But remember, there's this now, meaning the phone.
That's the worst,
right? So like, it's not the same. And if you're in a sorority, then it is provided
right.
to you.
That's true. That's true.
As opposed to having to
search it out with clubs or different things.
Figure it out on your own, and then find other people that you like that are not over there.
Ooh,
so it's hard. And then of course you have the kids who like get in spring semester, who maybe whatever, right? Either spring, or the kids who spent the first year, like off campus, like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So all of that.
So what are your students telling you? Are there things in campus to help them if they aren't in sorority, or are they just, you're dealing with them personally to navigate the isolation or the loneliness?
Yeah, I would say more the isolation and the loneliness, because by the time it's sort of at that point, they're obviously having difficulty doing it. So
it's a level of difficulty that needs to be addressed.
Like what's there.
Yeah.
And obviously that's harder because like I'm not like there at the school, so I don't fully know. But yeah, that is definitely what I see the biggest thing. Like, and it's not just not fitting in.
Yeah, no, it's loneliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total loneliness.
Yeah.
The phone is such a good point, because one of the parents actually said to me, "Oh, it's because her Instagram wasn't good enough. That's why she didn't get in." I mean, really?
Right.
But I think, there's something to be said for, that's apparently what happens. That's part of the process, is looking at someone's social media.
Is it really?
Yes. Yeah. We didn't have any of that.
No.
Oh no, thank God.
All right.
Oh, thank God. Oh, wow. That's heartbreaking to learn that, though.
Yeah. So again, saying these are the things they now have to deal with.
It's a lot.
So it's like, right. Like when you're talking about like the expectations and how do you prepare them? Like, how do you prepare a kid for that?
You can't. You can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's people who actually you can pay to help you do. I mean, it's really, but it's a whole business. It's
right. And to a certain extent, it depends what school you're like, what the culture of the school is,
right.
And then these are some of the things people find out after they're there.
Yeah.
Right. Like not necessarily beforehand, and then sometimes there's like, just like flat out bad luck,
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. It's hard. It's all right. It's all these things to have to navigate that weren't there. Even 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah. This was not when
an
I
issue.
First started. No.
So I always felt that the most important thing to make these kind of transitions, or especially this transition, easier was communication. Like just that open door policy that I said. It doesn't matter what time, day, night, whatever. And thank God you all have like the cell phones to connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
But are your children or are your students expressing that they are willing to be that open with their parents? Because I think sometimes they sort of
definitely not.
Okay.
It's funny you say it, because I feel like my students especially tell me almost too much sometimes.
Right.
It's like I don't need and I've heard I think almost everything, just because I've been a guidance counselor.
Because I'm talking about once they're there.
Oh, once they're there?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
like
so
an open communication.
So you see them beforehand.
Yeah. So maybe then once they get there, there's more of a, I'm not really seeing
They just
them.
don't touch base as much, or they're not telling their parents all of the nuances of things that are going on.
Well,
or,
it's harder because on
Yeah.
one hand, we're telling them we want you to be independent and figure it out for yourself.
right.
But when do the problems like look, so what I would say is other than like open communication, that's all fine and good. But I'm talking about once they're there,
Mm-hmm.
right? That and all the college kids that I work with, all the parents, like if they were listening, they would all like be nodding. It was like, you have to say something when there's a problem, because by
Right.
the time they figure it out, which doesn't mean that the kid has said something, it
Right.
means there's a big enough problem that
That
right,
you
the
need to get
school-
involved.
Right.
Right.
It's not that it's too late, but it's very late.
Right.
Right?
So how do you
So then we're
encourage them
talking
to say something at
academically,
the
because-
moment?
So what happens is when they're struggling,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they're not going to class. The work is not getting done.
Right.
Okay, because equated, like whatever they're struggling with, whether they're anxious, depressed, lonely, don't get into whatever the things are, the way it usually ends up going, right? They're not
Right.
calling home saying like, I'm having a lot of anxiety. Mom. Like that's
They're not doing
right.
it
And
at
what
all.
is the mom going to do? She'd be like, well, go figure it out. Right.
Mhm.
So in that whatever problems there are, they can be addressed. Like I would say that to like both the parents and the kids,
Right.
right? Like I have some parents that are like, honestly, like pretty great, at least like in my office. What are they like at home? I don't know.
Right.
Right. But they're like, okay, we will figure it out. Like
Right.
if you have to withdraw, like, okay, you failed every class, we will figure it out. And then of course there's other parents that
Right.
like totally go bananas.
Right.
Right. And it's like, you have your kid asking for help here,
Yeah.
clearly who needs help. And like, what are we focusing on right now?
Right.
Right. So that's really then like the problems that I see, and that like whatever the problems are, they can be figured out.
Right.
Like
As long as you communicate them to at the beginning point of this, not after
no,
the fact.
not even after the fact, but for the parents
yeah.
to like be, I'm going to say, relatively calm and address whatever the problems are right then and there, which like I
Right.
said, usually at this point is
Right.
dealing with whatever the grades are, because
Right.
if they're not passing, like that's how all this ends up coming out a lot of times.
Right.
Right.
Once
So
we've passed the point.
that it can be addressed. Maybe it means withdrawing. Maybe it means a medical. Maybe it means this. Maybe it means that. Right.
So you tell the parents that you need to just stop worrying about what already happened and focus on this point
Yeah.
forward on what we need to focus, like how we can heal and cure
Yeah.
and fix this.
Yeah. And if the grades are okay, but really like the anxiety is through the roof, like for example,
Right.
like,
Address the
like,
mental health.
Right. Like, okay, how do we address this right now? And how do we address this going forward? Like,
Right.
what do we need to do?
And I think the rules also, it's similar to high school where, and I don't know if anyone has ever said this exactly the way I say it, but like to my own kids, I'll say, you need an adult besides me that you can speak to and you can tell if something's
Right.
going on. So whether that's someone in school,
A
whether
safe
that's
person.
right, somebody, I don't care who it is, as long as it's someone that we know is safe or whatever. And I think, maybe hopefully in college, they would carry that with them.
Right. But at least you've expressed to all of them, your
Yeah.
kids and your students, like what the expectations are, realistic expectations. Okay.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it starts earlier.
So what are you all feeling as you're getting to this press? I mean, I know you still have a little time, but what are you feeling? And you too, Jamie, because you're seeing the beginning of this,
Yeah.
James. So
Mhm.
what are you both feeling as you get ready for this launch?
Well, I'm in this weird situation where all of my students, every single one of my seniors is not only set, but committed to a college. Yay. So exciting. Except my own daughter, because she is waiting for the regulars to come out.
Right.
And she has some great options. Like, we're not in a bad place, or she's not in a bad place. I'm not supposed
Right.
to say we, because it's her.
But you're experiencing it too.
But I am experiencing it as well. But it's very hard.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of like hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm
You can't check that
experiencing.
box yet.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I know. And it's sort of exciting. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of exciting.
well, it
'cause-
sounds like everything's going to be good wherever she
Yes.
goes. If you just kind of want to know where we are going right now, or
Right.
where she is
Right.
going right
yeah.
now.
But
So-
again, it goes back to that whole piece of like, maybe in the back of my head, the reason I'm worried or I have any anxiety is because I do worry what people think of where my child is going
Right.
because of my profession, and also just as a mom. Like,
right. And what are you experiencing?
that it's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, a lot of unknowns.
You just
And
sort of have to go with the flow.
yeah, well, and it's, you know, a fair amount of time between now and then, whenever then is,
Right.
you know. And I also don't know what's going to change,
Yeah.
you know.
There's so
And-
much that could.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Anything you wish you learned earlier, both of you? Like now, especially, when you hear from your clients, and now you're going through it and you're seeing it, Jamie, like what are you both, is there anything you said, oh God, I wish I knew that earlier? You said something earlier, but I think it was about the sororities and things like that. But there was something else you said, oh, I didn't realize this then, but, oh, the weather in the school.
Yeah.
right.
The
Yeah.
weather.
No,
That's-
that,
yeah.
right. Yeah, that definitely. And is there anything I wish, no, I mean, like I said, I think there's pieces that I'm aware of that as it gets closer,
Right.
I'll be talking to them about.
Mhm.
I mean, because like next up on our list is like all of the SAT stuff. So
Oof.
like that's right. Let me get through that first.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say.
You know,
Sorry.
So yeah. But like I said, there's pieces that maybe I have some knowledge,
Right.
about that I can address.
It's funny because people always say like, parents step in too much. I think I wish I had stepped in more in certain things with my daughter because I had in my head that, let the school handle it. Let the school. There are like 2 instances that I do really wish I had stepped in.
Uh-huh.
But then when everything is said and done, I don't think it's going to matter in terms.
Okay.
So I have
Mhm.
to just, I guess that's, what I have to just remind myself.
Right. Do you all make special time or you carve out special time now just to have moments together or experiences together before she leaves for college?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have this, I'll put my 5th grader to bed and then like, I know I'm going to walk out and then walk around. So my 5th grader doesn't know that I'm going to my older daughter, maybe she'll hear this and then know.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Right.
don't
I should be
listen to
quiet.
the podcast.
Don't listen. But no, I definitely carve out time and we take it whenever we can. And I think I have to say, it's not just that it's my daughter, but I really, she is very in tune
Mhm.
with all of this
Right.
in a really positive way. And she calms me down. Like the other
Aw.
night, I was getting stressed about something. I don't even remember what it was. She was like, Mom, this is going to work out. Like, I'm going to be fine.
I love that.
And I was like, oh, no, I know you're,
I know. I'm okay.
it's, it's interesting. And I'm not the only mom to say that. One of
Yeah.
my colleagues said the same thing. She was like,
Well, I think sometimes it's also hard when you do this as a
Mhm.
profession, like it's sometimes hard to separate. Sometimes having more knowledge isn't, it's not that
Better.
it's a bad thing, but sometimes
Right.
it's just like another thing to deal with. I would say like in our house, it's not that it's getting like discussed so much, but it's sort of like the overall changes that come with like if there's sports, right? There's like 1 more or 2 more seasons together, or like as juniors, this is what, so there's like stuff
Right.
like that. That's like one of my girls happened to be talking about like her 21st birthday the other day. And I actually had this thought and I said it out loud. I was like, oh my God, you won't be together.
oh yeah, they'll be in college. Well,
So
they could be together.
Yeah, they
You
might have
don't
that
know.
like weekend together.
well, that's what they said. They was like,
Yeah.
well, we can always go
Yes,
be with one another. But
exactly.
the point
They
being,
have a plan.
right. But the point being
I'm not worried about
that,
those
like,
two.
they would in theory be in different
Yeah,
places,
and could be in
right?
different cities.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And that was weird. Like that was because that wasn't even just like, oh, when you're in college. I was like,
When you're
that was like later in
Yeah,
college.
but what's
Like,
going to be weird is you're going to blink and they're going to be 21 and you're going to remember this
Well, that's
conversation and
right,
say that
right.
was yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah, that's
Right.
what happens. It just goes warp speed.
right.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway for students
That
and
is really
parents?
stressful.
Yeah, yeah.
For
Hold
everybody.
on.
Right.
I
for
think just
everybody.
keep centering yourself. And I know
Okay.
that sounds
Yeah,
cheesy, but
I
it's
think
true.
that's
Agreed.
brilliant.
No, I
because-
agreed.
It is about fit and it is about like what what's the saying? Where you are, where you go is not always who you become, like
okay. My
who
husband
you
always
are.
said it's not where you start, it's where you end.
Exactly. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a lot of change
Yeah.
for everyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Just because it seems like it's not a lot of change for the younger one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't mean
Yeah.
that, and to give each other and yourselves grace, like you said, center yourself,
Yeah.
and literally do the best that you can.
Right.
I
I agree with that.
Like, if you're going to do the best that you can, we're all going to screw up,
Right.
but
We're all going to be okay.
then that'll help address it.
Yeah. Learning.
Like when you need to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even think about expectations? This might not apply to you as much as you, Amy, but like when she comes home for visiting
Oh,
or
gosh.
like
Oh, that's a
What
good
we're
one.
holidays?
dealing with
Yeah,
is
that's a good one.
We have, so one of her best friends just came back for spring break and like is renting a Airbnb with like all his
Oh my
friends.
God.
And my daughter came home the other night and she's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, and I literally thought to myself, wow, my daughter could potentially come to Miami for spring break and not be living with us.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
go to this
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And
Might
what's
bring
that
10 people and not at your house, but somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. Expectations. I think I would expect that she would be safe. Hopefully,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
the number one
Always,
thing.
always.
And smart. But no, I'm not going to have a curfew, and you can quote me on that. I
Yeah.
really believe.
Yeah, that goes out the window.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way
Right.
you can implement that or
Right.
even ask that. So yeah.
No.
And what about your?
Well, I have no idea.
But
right?
your
That's way
client,
too
like,
far.
what do your
Well,
clients
so
say?
actually, you had a very good point. Like, I've definitely heard about that again from like both sides, both from the kids.
Yeah, that's what I
when they
wanna
come home,
know.
like if they come back and they want to check in, but also from the parents.
Right.
So then, like on the parent side, like when there's so you're saying you won't have a curfew, but you have two kids at home, right?
Yeah.
Now, if they're not in school, okay, but if they were in school, like Christmas break, like spring break is 1 week. Okay, so it's not the biggest
Right,
deal.
right.
Some
But
of
the
these kids are
holiday,
off
yeah.
for like 8 weeks for
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
It's like crazy, and everybody goes back to work and back to
Right.
school. So are you
Yeah.
so that
That's a good point.
that has come up. Things like the curfew, and then
And what are
like-
they saying?
So yeah, there's a fair amount of them that are doing curfews.
Oh, they are doing
Yeah, well,
curfews.
because like you have to get up and go to work the next day, and there's other kids in the house.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So again, it depends on like what the nature of like what say the house is, the kid is, what time they usually come.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
are they the ones to like turn on the lights and like start
Right.
cooking stir fry at 3
Right.
a.m.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right.
Because not every kid is necessarily like that.
Right.
So again, it depends, but that doesn't make it wrong.
Right.
if they're
It's
gonna
what
have
works
their
for
kid.
that household.
Right. And
Yeah.
again, figuring that out, like
It's also a
is
learning curve.
100%.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and for both, because the parent is going to be like, oh my God, you have a curfew. It's going to be like 12 o'clock. And the kid is going to be like,
We don't go out.
Right.
we don't leave the
go-
house until
right.
then.
So then the parents will be like, well, it can't be 3 a.m. So
Right.
then what? Like, so
Where's the balance?
yeah, it's hard.
So your girls were talking about turning 21 and where they're going to be. Do your girls and your children express like their thoughts of what it's going to be like when they're in college? Like, what are they expecting?
Fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of like what they
Right.
would like, and some of their friends too, like what they, think they would like.
Right. And your girls have older cousins, so they can kind of like see some of the things that go
Yeah.
on. Do
Mhm.
your children, do you have like nieces and nephews or cousins for them that they can say, oh, well, this happened with so-and-so and
Not-
that's what I'm expecting?
Totally. I have a niece who's 1 year older than my
Okay.
oldest. But this is her freshman year. So,
Okay. So your daughter's waiting for notes for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cliff
Got it.
notes.
exactly.
Got it. Okay. And what are you guys personally looking forward to?
I love having older kids. Like
Yeah.
I don't even want to say I'm looking forward to this because I feel like I'm in it. I was not the mom who was like, look at the babies. They're so cute in the stroller. Like, yes, they're great, but like, I don't know. I was not a mommy and me like fanatic, like just not my thing. So I guess I'm just looking forward. I feel like the older they get, the more I get their personalities. I feel closer to them. I feel more confident as a parent, I think. I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes sense, but I'm looking forward to all of it. I'm excited. I don't know if I'm going to be, I'll be nostalgic when Sarah leaves, but I don't know that I'm going to be sad. No.
I'm curious. I think that's kind of the best word.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good word.
like I said, I have no idea.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious how it goes.
Right.
Like, I definitely get people asking me, like, do you think they'll go separate? Do you think they'll go together? And really my answer is like, it's definitely not up to me. It's not up
Right.
to any
Not
of
my
us.
choice.
Right. But it's also, it's not even that it's not fully their choice. Like if they,
Right.
who knows where they're going to
Right.
quote, end up, you
Right.
know? So that's what I mean. Like, am I going to have one far away and one close? Am I going to
Right.
have two far? Like,
No,
I have
that's a
no
thought.
idea,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's going to be pretty different.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say like, I'm curious, but also still have like the next few years, like
Right.
now where they're beginning to kind of separate a little bit,
Right.
you know, and do some different things. So
Right. I think each stage brings a new dynamic and dimension, like growing
Sure.
up in life. And I think it's always good because I think the connection gets deeper as they get older as well. Because they have a little more life experience and knowledge, and you can relate on certain things. So, yay, that's all good. Did we leave anything out? Did we forget
I
anything?
don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before I let you girls go, I do a thing at the end of my podcast, quickie questions. Your
Okay.
game? I know you've
Sure.
experienced before, but okay.
Sure.
Do you have a motto that you live by?
I wish my husband were here because he could probably answer for me. faster than I
Mine
could
is
answer.
mine is like so cheesy though. It's like
Um,
mine's like clear eyes, full heart. I just
Oh, I like that. That's a
Is that
great
Friday?
one.
Yeah, Friday Night Lights.
It is. That's what I was
It's
gonna
Friday Night
say.
Lights.
It is Friday Night Lights, and
You
that
plagiarized.
show just resonates with me because there's a guidance counselor in there that
Did she say that?
She doesn't, but her husband does.
Oh,
Yeah, Coach Taylor. But Tammy Taylor,
she's really deep. She's really into this.
Tammy Taylor,
What's
who
Friday
is
Night Lights?
like the best guidance counselor in the history of guidance counselors, who is also a fake person, but whatever. she like I feel like every problem, anything you approach, and whenever I'm scared about something or like I'm not sure about something, I have to just, if I'm looking at this with clear eyes and a full heart, how am I going to react? And
I think that's beautiful.
Okay, so you gave me mine. So
Good.
it's this. I would say personally, I do abide by this, but I don't really say it in my personal
Okay,
life.
yeah.
But professionally, this is 100%. And it's you won't go wrong when you do you.
Oh, I like
love
that
that.
too.
Right.
love that.
All right. So you both have spectacular ones. Okay, that's good. Do you have a favorite word or phrase that you use?
I don't know if I can say it on here.
Well, I use the F word
Yeah.
as an adverb, a verb, a noun, and adjective. It pretty much covers everything for me. So I've dropped many F bombs here. It's okay. So that's yours too?
It would be up there.
Yeah.
Probably.
Amy?
I mean, I don't know if it's really a phrase or anything, but like going back to what I was saying, I think sometimes going back to the truth and what that is.
Yeah.
So I'll say to a kid, like, okay, tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing a lot of other things, but go to the core, go to the
Right.
truth.
Get to the meat of it. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. What's your greatest strength?
I don't know.
Are we talking personally or professionally?
Either one or both? I'm going to say I think you both would have to be great listeners for what you
That
do
was
professionally.
actually mine for professionally, right?
Okay.
But to me, it means something a little bit different than, like, oh, I'm a good listener. Like,
Right.
where's that, but like, I mean, I more like active listening,
Mhm.
and I will either say back or reflect back. And like, a lot of people that I work with will hear me say, I'm like, well, this is what I'm hearing you say. Like, you're
Right.
not saying these words, but this is what I'm hearing you say.
Right.
Or I'll say something like, all right, you're saying that, but I'm picking up like something else, and let me
Got
tell
it.
you what it is.
Got it. Okay. So that's a good strength.
I think it's so along those lines, mine would intuition, but it's more than that. Like there's times when, I don't know, it's like a sixth sense. I just
Yeah.
know things.
Mhm.
You pick up energies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I hear you. Okay. Do you have a secret party trick or talent?
Talent.
Mine's like 90s rap.
Okay, off camera after this, I'm going to have you break it down for me, okay?
100%. Put on some salt and pepper.
Oh, love them. And Spinderella.
I could.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, you'll tell me later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for being here.
Thank
This was
you.
wonderful.
Thank
and
you.
thank you for the idea, Jamie. This was
You're
great.
welcome.
And I'm
Thanks for
so
having me.
yeah,
this
no,
was
both
so
of you. This
fun.
was
Thank you.
spectacular. Yeah.
Thanks.
I hope our listeners learned so much. I think they will.
Yes.
Hey, thank you.
It was educational and fun.
Yep.
Yes. it
Okay,
was.
good. To our listeners, thank you so much. So grateful you are here. Keep listening, keep learning, keep laughing, keep up with Beek on Being. Follow Beek on Being on Instagram for the latest. To share thoughts, ideas, suggestions, or nominate a guest, DM us. Want exclusive content, behind the scenes stories, and listener links? Subscribe. Listen to Beek on Being wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes are automatically transcribed. A big shout out and a huge thank you to Stephen Chen at Penthouse Studios. Woo! Beek on Being was recorded at Penthouse Studios and is a proud member of the Penthouse Podcast Network.